So welcome. We'd like to thank you for agreeing to lend your time and your talents to YALSA. We appreciate all you do to make YALSA awesome and for everything that you do to put teens first. I'm Sandra Hughes-Hassel. I'm the president-elect of YALSA, and I'm here with Kate McNair, who is
Kate McCare.
Kate McCare with her beautiful hair. Kate McNair, who's currently serving on YALSA's board. Today we're going to go over some basic information to help you get off to a good start with your committee or your task force. And then on June 6th, there'll be 2 live sessions, both at Eastern time, one in the afternoon and the other at 6 p.m. Eastern. And we would like for you to sign up to attend one of these. Actually, you don't need to sign up. You just need to pick one to attend. And then these will be an opportunity for you to get to ask questions about what we're covering today and to dig a little bit more deeply into the work that you'll be doing. So today we're going to cover a lot of information. We'll try to do it slowly so that you'll be able to take notes as you go along, to ask questions or make notes of questions that you have for our June 6th meeting. We're going to talk about how you can prepare for your year, some strategies for working in a virtual environment. We know many people today are sort of immersed in this virtual environment, but being immersed in it personally and working in an environment with another group of people are often 2 different things. So we'll talk a little bit about some strategies for making the most of working together in that virtual environment. We'll talk a little bit about policies and procedures. I'm going to talk a little bit about the organizational plan, YALSA's new vision, and ask you to think about where your group fits in. We're going to talk about the task list that will help guide the work that you will be doing as a part of your committee, and then we're going to end with some resources that you might engage with and consider. So I'm going to turn it over to Kate now.
Thank you, Sandra, and thank you for volunteering your time with YALSA over the next year. So in the next couple of months, your chair is going to reach out to you and your fellow committee members soon. But before your work officially starts, it's a great time to get to know each other, your fellow committee members. If you haven't been on a committee before, this is a great time to meet librarians from across the country. I have so many friends from working with YALSA and on committees with them. It's great. They're a wonderful resource. Anytime I have a question that we're thinking about doing something in my home library, I'm like, oh, I know someone in Nashville who's doing that, or I know someone in South Carolina who I can ask about that, or I know someone in LA who's doing something similar. Let's find out more. So use this as an opportunity to professionally network, get to know the people in your group, find out what they're interested, what they're working on, what new and innovative things they have on the horizon. Your chair may have questions about your schedule or your communication preferences. So think about the next year of your life and what times you know you're going to be busy and know what you can commit to. I like to set up an email filter if your committee is going to be communicating by email to make sure that all of my YALSA emails come to my attention as quickly as possible. Or set aside maybe 30 minutes every few days to check your emails specifically for your committee work. Making sure that you start setting up a habit to do your YALSA work now will pay off in the end. And then make sure that the communication method that you've given to YALSA, like your email address, is the one that you prefer. Especially school librarians, make sure that it's an email that you'll be checking over the summer or over school breaks. When you accepted your committee appointment, you read a purpose statement for your committee. These statements can be a little bit broad. Your chair is going to be talking with you about the work of your committee and coming up with a committee task list, which is going to give you a much more detailed account of what your committee is going to do and what you'll be able to work on. Think about what strengths you have that you can bring to the work of your committee, and your chair can work that into the task list to try and play up to those strengths. We're also, as Sandra will mention later, in the middle of working on our new organizational plan and moving forwards towards 3 new goals that we've set, or goal areas that we have set. So throughout the year, your task list may change a little bit as the YALSA board shifts some of the work of the organization. And as you enter your year as a committee member, think about what do you want to get out of your year on the committee? What skills do you want to build? What skills do you already have that you want to leverage in the interest of YALSA? Think about what you want to do in the future and let your chair know if you want to be on another type of committee. They can tell your board liaison. Maybe they can give you roles on the committee that might help you build skills or exemplify the skills that you already have. And be proactive. Reach out to your chair if you have any questions. Find out who your board and staff liaisons know. Read through the materials that we'll be talking about today and get the information that you need to know to make your next year a success.
Okay, so on this slide, we've listed some characteristics of successful group members, and you'll see that the very first one is that successful group members take their commitment seriously. I can't emphasize this enough. We, the board, relies on the committee members and the committees and the task force, the different groups that we put together to carry out the work of the organization along with our very important staff members. But your work is really important. And so we really want you to take your commitment seriously and to really think about the time commitment and that you're going to need to put into place to be able to carry this out. So as we've said, getting to know your group's purpose and their mission is critical. This will be one of the very first steps that you want to take, as Kate has already said. The second bullet point on this slide is also really important. Successful group members are prepared. They're prepared to do the work, to participate, and to follow through. Everyone on the committee, and we know this, including the chair, is volunteering, so that their time for the time to get the work done is, okay, let me start all over. So everyone on the committee, including the chair, is volunteering. So the time to get the work done is important, that you engage in these conversations about how you're going to get the work done, come up with a plan, break tasks, larger tasks into smaller tasks, and complete your assignments on time. If life or work gets in the way, and that happens, we all know that, let your chair know and step aside. It's better to do that and to volunteer later when you have a more stable work schedule or personal schedule than to not be able to follow through on the work that you're doing. And finally, you want to be proactive. Know who to go to when you have a question or if there's a challenge. If for whatever reason your chair is not responsive to you, and sometimes that happens, we encourage you to reach out to your board liaison or to the staff liaison. They're there to help you. You'll hear us say this often throughout the presentation, but we want you to know that your board and your staff liaisons are there for you, to help you and the committee, other committee members and the chair to do their work.
Oops, hang on. There we go. So we want your next year to be success and an amazing opportunity for you. So we want you to start thinking through some of the pitfalls that you might encounter now and coming up with plans for when you might hit a roadblock in the future. So these are some of the common pitfalls that are experienced by committee members, maybe falling a little bit behind, maybe not being able to communicate in a timely manner for your committee work that's happening, maybe missing a meeting, maybe running into a challenge with ALA and YALSA's ethics policies, struggling with virtual tools. If this is the first time that you've started on a virtual committee, managing all of those emails or messages, or working in Google Docs, some of that can be a challenge for people, or not knowing your own limitations and getting a little bit overwhelmed. So I want to talk a little bit about some strategies today that you can implement so that you can know those challenges before they come up. So as I said before, it's really important to be proactive with coming up with a plan now for how you're going to have the time to do the volunteer work for YALSA. You'll need to know how to organize your communication and documents, how to use those virtual tools and interact with your group. You've probably got seasoned committee members in your group if you're new to the committee, and they are a great resource. So ask them how they have managed to blend their work life, their personal life, and their YALSA volunteering time together. The most important thing for you to do is to be honest with yourself and with the chair. So about how much work you can achieve and what your strengths are. For example, if you know that October is a really busy month for you at work, then maybe talk with your chair about not taking on so many volunteer duties that month and making up for them in November, or preloading a lot of your committee work if possible and doing it in August and September so that you can focus on your work in October. If you do become overwhelmed for any reason, life happens, we know, please let your chair know right away. We don't want this problem to fester that would make you and ultimately everybody else unhappy or feel unsuccessful. If anything unexpected happens to you and you feel you no longer have the time to volunteer for YALSA, it's perfectly okay to resign. The proper procedure is to contact your chair and let them know, and it's better to take that step than struggle all year. There's no ramifications. It's not a negative mark on you. We would rather know and be able to let you have your time back and get a new member onto that committee who can help serve the purpose of that committee. You can always take on another volunteer position down the road when life calms down and things go back to normal and you have time to give to YALSA. If you have any questions about how to be proactive and avoid some of these challenges, we're happy to go over those questions and answers in those live sessions on June 6th. and things happen to the best of us. So plan ahead. I know that every April is super busy for me. I fall down this hole of like teen poetry work as we make a teen literary magazine. And so I really try to not schedule myself for anything extra if I can avoid it in April. And then I make an appointment. So I put an appointment in my calendar for 30 minutes every Friday to make sure that I'm staying up to date on all my committee work. So even though in April I'm trying to take things slow, I'm staying up to date, I'm keeping up with my committee, and then I have a big block in May where I'm like, time to jump back in and sign up for stuff and start working on documents and getting that work done. It's manageable, you just have to think about things ahead of time. So as we mentioned, your committee is going to be working virtually, which is an exciting opportunity to connect with people across the country, but it also may be a new opportunity for you to familiarize yourself with some virtual work tools that you may not use in your everyday job. So as we mentioned, your chair is going to be reaching out to you, and he'll be talking about what kind of tools your committee will be using to do your work throughout the year. So although your official committee start date is July 1st, you may start a little bit early getting to know each other with your committee, just socializing and knowing what people are doing. It's going to make your committee a lot stronger for the rest of the year. Past committees have used communication tools like ALA Connect, Google Drive and Hangouts, Slack, and Zoom to get to know each other and to accomplish the work on their task list. But no matter what tools you use, any original work that you create with your committee, you need to make sure that it's shared with your chair or on ALA Connect so that it can be passed on to the next committee. Remember, somebody else is going to be taking this work from you at the end of the year, and you want to make sure that you're setting them up for success as well. So communicating in these virtual environments can be a challenge because when you're contacting people by email, you can't hear them, hear their tone of voice, you can't see their faces. So take your time when you're doing this virtual work. I know sometimes it's something that you're doing at the end of the day or on a weekend, but make sure that you slow down, take the time, and craft your message with as many people in mind so that there isn't any misinterpretation. ALA Connect, I will point out, is a great resource. It's going to be transitioning in July to a new platform. So if you've ever used ALA Connect before, we'll have all new tools starting in August. But you can start your work in ALA Connect now. You can be adding documents. It will all automatically transition in August. So I highly suggest that you set aside some time in August to see what the new tool has to offer. We on the board are all really excited to see what the new ones are, or what the new pieces of ALA Connect are. I'll talk a little bit about some of the other tools on this slide if you're not familiar with them. The committees that I have worked on before have used a lot of Google Docs. It's a great way, Google Drive and Google Docs are great ways to collaboratively work on Word documents and Excel spreadsheets. In fact, I don't even know if we could get our work done without it, with the ability of commenting and multiple people being in a document and adding pieces at the same time. It was indispensable to a lot of my committee work. Google Hangouts is a great video conferencing platform. Zoom is a conferencing platform that YALSA has a subscription to that your committee might use at some point or another. It's really easy and it works on multiple devices. It allows screen sharing and recording. So if you ever miss a meeting, your chair could record the meeting and you could watch it later. It's really easy and simple to use. And several of our committees and task forces have started using Slack, which is a work messaging tool, kind of like an instant messenger, but with way more tools behind it. It allows you to comment back and forth. You can have different projects and different conversations and keep so you can break your work group into different groups, work on different projects, bring them all back together. It's really great for like fast, short messaging for those times when you might want to send an email, but it's really only one sentence. Slack is a really great tool for that. So I encourage you to kind of look at all of these tools. Your chair might be asking you what tools you would prefer to use and work in. So think about what you're comfortable with and what are the tools that you can make a part of your daily life.
And I would just like to say that I think that's another place where, as Kate said, that you need to be honest with yourself, be honest with your chair. If you're really uncomfortable with one of these tools or doesn't fit into the way that you do your work, please make sure you let them know so that you don't get left behind because they're using a tool that you're not able to access or that you're not so familiar with. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about some policies and procedures. The chair of your committee is the primary contact for you, but as we've said before, if you have a question about policies, if you have a question about procedures or any of the work that your committee is doing, you want to make sure you know to reach out to your board or your staff liaison. They are the people who, other than your chair, can help answer those questions. So one of the things you want to keep in mind is that as a committee member, you are representing YALSA. And you always have to keep that in mind, and you always have to be focused on being professional. That's another reason that it's important to review the futures report and to look at the organizational plan, the implementation plan. You want to be able to represent YALSA thoroughly, and to be able to do that, or represent YALSA accurately, and to be able to do that, you need to be thoroughly familiar with our current vision and the direction of our work. As Kate said, we've taken on a new organizational plan, we've set some new priorities, and so you really want to be familiar with those so that you are able to represent the work that YALSA is doing today, not the work that YALSA did 5 years ago or 10 years ago. You'll also want to make sure that you carefully review the social media policy and the ethical behavior policy, and there are links here for you to get to both of those documents. Social media can really help YALSA expand its reach. It can increase its impact. It can help raise awareness about the mission and the work of YALSA and the work that your committee is doing. It helps us to build a sense of community among the different members of our association. It helps us to improve the knowledge and skills of library workers. As Kate said, it's providing a virtual way for us to engage in our association and for more. But that all said, it can be challenging for members to reconcile their public and their private social media activities in terms of their role on a YALSA committee. To help provide guidance on how to achieve this, we've created this policy. There's some accompanying guidelines that provide a framework so that you, as a committee member, those of us who are board members, can also know how to use our social media in a way that helps move YALSA forward, and is a way that is ethical and follows all of the guidelines that are set forth for us. As a committee member, you want to make sure to limit your committee-related posts to sharing information about the work of the committee, if there are any news or announcements from your committee, things like that if they're applicable. But you also want to keep in mind that the committee chair is the only person who can engage in official communication for the group. Sometimes you'll be asked to write blog posts, articles, or Twitter posts, but again, if there's anything that has to come out formally, it will be your chair that will be doing that for your committee. You also want to look at these ethical behavior policies. They've been designed to provide clear expectations for all of us, for those of us who are board members, as well as those of you who are committee members. They are there to promote a sense of equity, to improve the quality of everybody's experience, and to improve the quality of the work that we produce. You're going to want to review this policy very carefully so that you can be sure that you understand all of the policies and that you're able to comply with them. One of the things that we've asked the chairs to do is to go over these policies with all the committee members to, again, make sure that everybody has a common understanding of them, to make sure that everybody understands why they're in place, and to be able to ensure that everybody is able to comply with them. Some of the things that you want to keep in mind and that you'll see in this policy document is that you need to maintain a certain level of professionalism in all the work that you do. And again, as we said, because you are representing YALSA, if there are items that are to be kept confidential, they need to be kept confidential. A lot of times you'll discuss things in your committee. We discuss things on the board that are confidential, and we have to make sure that these things are kept confidential. And you want to make a good concerted effort to be a good member of a committee. That's very much a part of this ethical policy. And finally, you want to be able to use good judgment when you interact with vendors, recognizing that as a committee member, and those of us who are board members, your chair, none of us are allowed to take any kind of even minimal honorarium or little gift from the vendors. That's against YALSA policy. And then we all are responsible for using YALSA's resources in an ethical manner. So as we've said a number of times, YALSA and the board of directors adopted a new organizational plan. It happened in April of 2016. And this plan is intended to provide an overall direction for YALSA for the next 3 years. And our goal with this organizational plan is to focus YALSA resources, whether these include member and staff time, or our finances, or just the energy that we all need to get the work done. We want to be able to focus all of these resources on issues that matter. And as you read through the futures report, as you look at the organizational plan, you'll see that our overall mission is to support library staff in alleviating the challenges that teens face, and in helping to put teens on a successful path and a fulfilling, successful and fulfilling career and their and life. And so that's really what all of these elements of our organizational plan are designed to help YALSA do. So when you look at the organizational plan, you'll see that there are 3 priority areas: advocacy, fund and partner development, and leading the transformation of teen services. The goals for the advocacy priority area include training and empowering and supporting our YALSA members to conduct advocacy at all levels, well, whether that's at your local library level, in your community, at the state level, and at the national level. YALSA, as a part of our advocacy efforts, is also increasing our work to connect with congressional members and their staff on Capitol Hill. If you're following YALSA on social media, you've seen that we've had a big push to get our members to help support IMLS funding that might be withdrawn to get to support the net neutrality. And so we're really trying to ramp up our responsibilities and our engagement with our congressmen on Capitol Hill. In terms of fund and partner development, we're trying to not only increase the ability of YALSA to find new partners, to find new funding opportunities, but also to enable our libraries staff, our library members, to engage with current and potential funders in their own communities so that they're better able to do the work that they're trying to do in their own communities to support and provide services for teens. The overall goal related to leading the transformation of teen services is to help build our members' knowledge and skills so that they're able to actually bring about the transformation of teen services that we describe in the futures report. Among other things, we're focusing on building our members' cultural competency and their leadership skills. Last year, we engaged in a lot of restructuring of the organization so that it's better positioned to carry out this new work to support the plan. And this year, we'll be focused on meeting the outcomes outlined in each of the priority areas. And I'm really excited about the potential that we have this year to really dig deep and get a lot of our outcomes met this year. I mean, we're really at that point. We've done some of the reorganization. It was critical to being able to move our work forward, but I think we're really now ready for our committees and for us as a board to really dig in and make some things happen, to really see some changes take place. So one of the things that you're going to want to do as a committee, and we're going to ask you to do, is to think about how your group can support one or more of these priority areas. And so that means that your committee really does need to dig into this organizational plan and the accompanying implementation plan so that you can begin to explore the connections. And there's a link here at the bottom of this slide to the strategic plan, and there are lots of resources that are connected to this to help you really understand what is it that we're trying to accomplish, why are we making these changes, what is our broad outcome for these changes. For some of the committees, these connections are clear. The Financial Advancement Committee, for example. For other committees, you might have to think outside the box, but the thing you want to keep in mind is that the committee's work is to support the organizational plan and to support our being able to achieve this mission that we have for putting teens first. So continually ask yourself as a committee, how does our work support that mission? How does our work help move YALSA forward in each of these 3 priority areas? And then together, the committees, the task force, all the other groups, and the board can help push these things forward as we put teens first in our work.
All right, here's another link to our organizational plan. As Sandra mentioned, you guys will be working with your chair to develop a task list for the work of your committee this year. And so being familiar with that organizational plan is going to be key. And then also you want to be familiar with what are the strengths that you bring to that committee. And hopefully we can find a place where we can blend those things, the goals of the organizational plan in your committee work, and also your strengths and the things that you want to get out of your time on the committee. And we can work together towards those goals for YALSA. Remember that the strategic committees and advisory boards work year-round. So there may be like an ebb and a flow to some of the work, but it continues all year. If you're expecting to be out of communication from your YALSA volunteer work for a number of months, say maternity leave or sabbatical, you can consider volunteering another time, maybe when you can commit your full 12 months. And if you're leaving on vacation and you won't be checking email, let your chair know and then set aside some time to get caught up when you return.
Okay, so Okay, you're going to talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
it.
I was going to talk about some resources. So
Yeah.
these are some great resources for you to check out between now and when your committee work officially begins. Being proactive and reading through some of these will help you ensure that you get started on the right foot and help reduce some of the chances of problems down the line. So keep these resources handy and refer back to them maybe in January as a good refresher. So I recommend taking some of these resources in bite-sized pieces. Set aside maybe a YALSA coffee break every morning to read a little bit through our online handbook, the organizational plan, the futures report, and the contacts list as well. Don't forget to check, the futures report I would really like to emphasize. It came out in 2014 and we are still working towards those goals, as Sandra mentioned, with leading the transformation of teen services. I reread the futures report every couple of months and I find something new and exciting every time that I do. I love blending the futures report with the organizational plan, and those things are really exciting to me, in inspiring me towards my committee work, towards my work on the board. But also the online handbook is something that we often read the first time that we volunteer, and then we maybe don't go back to for a while. But I would strongly recommend reading that, not just when you begin your committee work, but come back to it. It's got lots of great tips about what YALSA does, how we do the work of YALSA, and how other committees might connect with the work that you're doing. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch with your chair, your board liaison, or Sandra or myself.
So we want to thank you for taking time to engage in this kind of conversation that we've had with you today. We'll be live on June 6th, as we said, at 1 p.m. or 6 p.m. And so we'll be able to answer your questions face-to-face. Again, I just want to reiterate that we really thank you for taking the time and volunteering for YALSA. We know everybody is really busy, but we're all here because at the end of the day, we care about teens and we want to make sure that we put those teens first. So we really want to thank you for being here today and for all that you do for YALSA. So see you on June 6th.
Thank you.